Hi there, my name is John Stevens, pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA, and welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take the lectionary text and we tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree. This is for the third Sunday after Pentecost, and we're looking at either the gospel lesson or we're looking at the second reading out of Galatians. And I thought, to start off and be like, today for the children's sermon, we're going to talk about raining fire down on people. Okay, maybe not. Maybe we'll do something a little bit different. But because I read this gospel lesson, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be good. So a couple of directions on these texts. One is Galatians has talking about the fruit of the Spirit. And at the dollar store, they've got fake fruit. You could actually bring real fruit and hand that out if you'd like. But this idea of fake fruit, I've got enough to where I can give these to the kids out. But I want to talk about a fruit bowl. One of the things I love about when you have a bowl of fruit, and actually it's I can't help but think of Jim Gaffigan, the comedian, who says, there's a reason why artists always paint a bowl of fruit, because the donuts didn't last, as they're eating them up. But with the bowl of fruit, the idea of the diversity of the fruit is really what I'm looking at. Is that as this when we read about the fruits of the Spirit, it doesn't say, and the fruit of the Spirit is a banana, and the fruit of the Spirit is patience, or the fruit of the Spirit is kindness, or the fruit of the Spirit. It's the fruits. It's multiple ways that the Spirit gets expressed in our daily lives. And I love this idea because it reminds me of when Christ says, when two or more are gathered, I'm there. There is a reason for community. There's a reason that we are called together. And so I like this because it's like each individual, we each have our individual gifts. Pulling back to Paul and the body of Christ. But when we come together, it fills out the picture. It makes it more beautiful, in my opinion, and the diversity of us called together. So that's one of the directions I'm using, the fake fruit. And there's that. The other is looking at the gospel lesson, and not the raining fire down upon or stuff like that, but the second passage, the second part of it, where there's the conversation about people being called to follow, and they say, but first let me do this. And we can get into all of the things where let me go back and say goodbye to my parents. These things that seem like, you think that makes sense to do, and Jesus says, no, you either do that or you follow me. And what I read in this, and there's all kinds of Bible study you could do with this around the table, but for the children's sermon, what I read about this is priorities, about who we put first. The things we put first in our day, the things we put first in our lives, the people we put first tend to be of utmost importance. And perhaps, pulling it down simply about what would Jesus do, be what would we do if we were following Jesus? What would we do if Jesus was walking beside us? What would we do? And this is not to turn this into a moralistic thing of you would do this if Jesus was following you. But this idea of priorities about when we think about Jesus first. And so one of the items I'm thinking about using is the toothbrush. Because when I was a kid, I was taught that the first thing I did in the morning is brush my teeth. And that was a thing that set the day. It could be that the first thing you do when you were getting ready for bed is you said your nightly prayers. But there are certain things, these priorities that we learn about what we do. As I'm talking about this, I was thinking about when we, and I lost it. This is what happens. The tangents. You've been with me for long enough. You know my tangents kind of go here and there. But this idea about what we put first and who we put first. And I like this idea that when we see Christ in our neighbor and we reach out to serve our neighbor as we are serving Christ, that brings that priority and that puts the other in front of us. And then, so it's an image about, it's an idea and an image of what we deem important, and Christ and following Christ and seeing Christ in our neighbor is the important thing. So I'm hoping that can be a springboard for your own thinking, a couple of directions to go there. And again, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a fantastic week. And I'm still trying to think about where I was going. If I figure it out, I'll post it on the Facebook page, and we can go from there. But thank you so much for your ministry with the kids and with everything that you do.